Oh, I received the letter.
Let's see what I got. Wow, has it really been that long? Guess they don't call me old and gold for nothing.
Guild Wars 2. It is one of the biggest MMORPGs on the market today, with a dedicated fanbase and a game which I have sunk a lot of my life into. 4,000 hours, over nearly 11 years. It might not be a lot in comparison to some, but to me, this is the game I've spent the most time in ever. But this begs the question, should you? Of course, I don't expect anyone to play as much as I do, but is this game worth your time, your commitment? In this video, I want to discuss that question for any potential new players who might be watching this, because deciding to jump into a new online game, an MMO especially, can be daunting. You don't want to put in the money and the time, only to find out it's a game you don't even like. With that in mind, I will present Guild Wars 2 in as balanced a manner as I can. I do love this game, but it isn't perfect. Since I've been around the block and have seen the highs and lows of Guild Wars 2 over the years, I think I can do that. So, if you want to know what this game is like from a veteran viewpoint, then this video will provide that. If not, then there are some great videos by creators with 100 or 500 hours in the game that are better suited to explaining it from the new player perspective. Because I'm going to be honest, I can't remember what it was like 100 hours in, and I will never know what it's like to be a new player today. What I do know is my own experience in the game, which I hope can help you decide if you want to play this game as well. My name is Olden Gold, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and here is my Guild Wars 2 perspective after 4,000 hours. Like any MMO, the world of Guild Wars 2 is massive. You could spend hours just looking at the map of Tyria and the other continents and wondering, what's over there? I know I did. But the true joy comes from exploring this expanse and uncovering more of this world. Exploration is one of the main pillars of a good MMO. It's something people want to do, and the game knows this. It rewards your natural desire to fill out a map by giving you XP for every point of interest you discover. This helps you get invested in the world of Tyria, and only deepens your thirst for more. Even after finishing world completion multiple times, I still enjoy searching every nook and cranny of a map, new or old. I don't even need XP, I'm in it for the love of the game. With every expansion and update, this world only gets bigger and better. It's at the point now where Guild Wars 2 has an extensive variety of landscapes to choose from the towering jungles of Maguma, to the expansive deserts of Alona, to the Jade Sea of Cantha, and whatever the hell Nyos is. Thankfully, to help us with traversing this ever-expanding world is one of Guild Wars 2's most renowned systems, introduced with the Pacifier expansion, mounts. Now what can I say about these mounts that hasn't already been said? Each mount has its own use and purpose. The controls are responsive, the animations are fantastic, and the weight you can feel behind every movement makes for a satisfying experience. Now the way you get mounts has changed over the years. When Pacifier first released, you received your first mount, the Raptor, through that expansion's story. But today, anyone who owns an expansion gets the Raptor at level 10. Even a free account gets a 10-hour mount trial. The only problem with the introduction of mounts so early is that in maps designed prior to Pacifier, like the starter zones, you can breeze past everything. These zones used to feel so grand, but now they have the impression of a city block. Which is why I still like to walk sometimes when visiting the old stomping ground. But I get how players who've never known a mount-free Guild Wars 2 can find that difficult. We've been spoiled for too long. Once you get mounts, it's hard to go back. It's why the game gives free players a 10-hour mount trial. It gets you addicted to the Raptor like crack cocaine.
What do I really want?
Do I really want?
What do you want more than anything else in the entire world?
Okay, what do I want more than anything else in this entire world?
Yes.
Crack.
Oh. I thought you were gonna say pizza or
Yeah, no.
buffalo wings or something.
No.
You want crack?
Yeah, crack cocaine.
Now, I've never had crack.
Dude, you are going to love it.
I am.
It's so good.
Coupled with the impressive mount system, exploring Tyria and Guild Wars 2 is a delight, and it has plenty to offer. Connecting this explorable world into one cohesive look is the graphics and visual style. Now, Guild Wars 2 has never been a high-fidelity game, and it's starting to show its age. The base game maps were created in 2012, and they look like it. Personally, I still think it looks good, and the watercolor style cinematics certainly hold up, but I can see how fans of the shiny modern MMOs might bristle at some of the visuals. Newer expansions do up the ante, but still, it's not the objectively best looking game on the market. There is a good reason for this, which is accessibility. MMOs need as large a player base as it can muster. If only say 10% of players can meet the system requirements, well then it will be quite the lonely game. When you play an MMO, you want to see players everywhere. It's part of the experience. Having a modest graphical style supports a higher player volume by keeping the game accessible to a wide audience. I for one played for years on an old gaming laptop. The game ran on hopes and prayers, but it ran. You might think that this lower fidelity means better optimization and better performance. However, lagging is still a fairly common issue, because what the game lacks in grass textures, it makes up for in particle effects. This explosion of color looks great when it's just you and a few others, but in large metas, where everyone is using the new flashy elite specializations from the latest expansion, the lag can be intense.
10,000! My PC!
Some settings can help minimize it, but they can only do so much. One thing that has stood the test of time is the music. Since the very beginning, the Guild Wars 2 soundtrack has always been exceptional. From the songs carried over from Guild Wars 1 to the mysterious jungle music of Heart of Thorns, the dark Witcher-esque sound of Icebrood Saga, and the 8-bit homages in the Super Adventure Box. There are an expansive number of songs, which is why, even after 4,000 hours, I have never turned off the music. Every location, every region has its own soundtrack that immerses you like no other. I'm trying to think of something bad to say about it, but I can't. It's so baked into the game atmosphere that to remove it or change it feels off kilter. To experience the vibes of the iconic Guild Wars 2 zones, your Queensdales, your Auric Basins, the music is crucial. However, there is another aspect of the Guild Wars 2 open world that I think ties everything together: the story. People don't often think of story when discussing open world exploration. It's often thought of as its own entity, separate from the rest of the game, but it's more integral than you might think. Because without it, the world might as well be cardboard cutouts. The lore of a place and the stories within it are what make this world so engaging. This is nothing new, but Guild Wars 2 does a good job at implementing this fundamental. Everywhere you look, there is some story to be found, some legend to be learned. Because this is integrated with gameplay through events or renowned heart quests, you remember it better, imprinting a sense of identity and familiarity for each zone. In all my years of playing, I still know the stories of Verdant Brink and Sandswept Isles. While these are zone-specific stories that work well on their own, they also add context to the greater narrative. What is that, you may ask? Well, I will refrain from outlining 13 years of story because some great creators have done it better than I ever will. So instead, I will summarize the background to the start of the game as best I can. There are 5 main races to consider: Asura, tiny genius gremlins; Char, steampunk Roman cat people; humans, technically the aliens in Tyria; Norn, giant shapeshifters that know how to party; and Sylvari, sentient plants that appeared only 25 years ago, making them the Gen Z of this world. To quickly go over the relations between these groups, Char and humans hate each other, Norn rely only on themselves, Sylvari want everyone to get along, and the Asura think they're better than all of them. From these 5, you will make your character. Now when you come into the picture, everyone is dealing with some serious issues. Immoral scientists, ghosts, zealots, bandits, centaurs, dragon worshippers, edgy cultists. You can't walk down the street without being attacked. Even worse, the Elder Dragons have reawakened, powerful eldritch beings with the purpose of consuming the world. The Dragon of Shadow and Death, Zaitan, has sent waves of his undead minions to attack the rest of Tyria. Things aren't looking good. Will your character help unite the 5 races and defeat this existential threat, saving the world one dragon at a time? Elevator pitch aside, It's a fairly standard high fantasy story. I personally thought it was alright, nothing award winning. But as the story chugged on through the years, it started to pick up. I started to get invested. Then there were some bombshell moments that really blew me away. Absolute cinema. Now, I look forward to when they release new story content, which I can't say is true for many games. Yeah, there's been some duds recently, but overall, I've had a good time. Let's move on to discuss what really makes or breaks a gaming experience: the gameplay. The gameplay of Guild Wars 2 can be broken up into 3 distinct modes: PvE, PvP, and World vs. World. PvE is by far the most popular, played by the vast majority of the population. It's easy to see why. There is a lot of open world and instance content here to go through. You've got meta events, world bosses, dungeons, fractals, raids, the encounters formerly known as strikes, not to mention the seasonal festivals that offer a limited time break from the usual gameplay, like the Super Adventure Box that is going on as I make this video. Most of this is endgame content, meaning it is unlocked after you reach the level cap of 80. For those new players who need to level their characters, open world events, dungeons, and map completion will be your bread and butter. You can rush to level 80 through guides, boosters, or a level 80 ticket if you really want to throw your money away. But I think everyone should go through the leveling experience at least once. It eases you into the game and gives you a reason to do the things that players in late game neglect, like the story mode in dungeons or lower level metas. And you might even have fun doing so. If you ever get stuck or need help with these tasks, asking in map chat is a good idea. Guild Wars 2 has a reputation for its very friendly community, which I think gets a bit overblown, but I've generally had more good interactions than bad, so it is worth asking. The leveling experience is your time to learn the game, because by the time you get to my position, you'll have so many tomes of knowledge that you will never have to level another character again, leaving you to focus on other pursuits to further your character and account. Speaking of progression, if you've watched any other videos about Guild Wars 2, then you will know about its horizontal progression. Instead of chasing stronger and stronger equipment to improve your characters, you will engage in other forms of progression. These can be new abilities like gliding, new mounts, elite specializations, learning how to play an instrument, or obtaining more weapon and armor skins. So many skins. There is a reason why the endgame is often described as fashion wars. Equipment power does increase with the rarity tier, but it levels off faster than you might think. Ascended gear is the best you can get stats wise, and the only difference between it and legendaries is style and some additional conveniences. Honestly, some build appropriate exotic gear is all you need to do endgame content. Not only that, if you leave the game for a few years and come back, your gear will be just as viable as when you left. I ran the same exotic equipment for an embarrassing amount of time, but I managed to do strikes just fine. Much of this horizontal progression is found in the Mastery system, an account-wide progression system post-level cap. One reason this system works so well is that it incorporates one trademark part of vertical progression. As you grow your various skills and abilities in the Mastery trees, your Mastery level will increase, and it is something everyone can see. It doesn't seem like much, but don't underestimate the power of watching a number go up. Because what is gaming if not growing numbers? Your Mastery level is a visual embodiment of how far you've come, so reaching the maximum is proof of your accomplishment. But what do you do when every Mastery has been filled, every story experienced, every map completed? This is where the Achievement tab comes in. Whenever I don't know what to do or what to work on, I check my achievements, and right there on the right, it tells me what achievements I'm close to completing. See? Roller Beetle Racing. Great. Now I know what I want to do. I'm not much of an achievement hunter in other games, but Guild Wars 2 is the exception. When not an aggravating ordeal, earning achievements can be quite fulfilling. A staple of PvE, and all game modes for that matter, is combat. The first thing most new players notice about Guild Wars 2's combat is the relatively small skill bar for an MMO. 5 weapon skills, 3 utility, 1 healing, and 1 elite, plus whatever profession mechanics you might have. This seems limited, but the longer you play, the more involved combat becomes. Your weapon skills are tied to the type of weapon you have equipped, so by using the weapon swap mechanic in combat, you gain access to a whole different set of skills. By itself, this opens up lots of build potential, but combined with elite specializations, build traits, and the various utility skills to choose from, I feel like I've only just started experimenting. Movement is the other half of Guild Wars 2's combat approach. Quick casting time and the inclusion of dodge rolls makes your combat encounters feel fast-paced and fluid. This makes your fights more skill-dependent, rewarding good positioning and quick reactions. You'd be surprised what you can solo if you have your dodging down. These enhanced movement skills are not just for combat either. Throughout PvE, Guild Wars 2 features platforming sections known as jumping puzzles, tests of your coordination skills. If you don't like jumping puzzles, well, best learn to like them, because they are everywhere. Hell, the Super Adventure Box is nothing but jumping puzzles. Thankfully, I was born in it, molded by it. Jumping puzzles are my way of life, so I enjoy them. But enough about PvE, let's talk about the more competitive game modes, starting with PvP. Otherwise known as structured player versus player, PvP is a strange one. It's the opposite of PvE in every way. PvE is cooperative, has a generally helpful and friendly community, and the players are here because they love it. PvP is competitive, vitriolic, and the players are here despite their hatred of it. It takes some getting used to. As a mainly PvE player, I entered this arena so I could get my PvP exclusive legendary backpack, Ascension. Turns out, the gameplay of PvP is really fun. I'm not very good, mind you, but I have fun, whether it's 5v5 conquest, 3v3 team deathmatch, or push. With good matchmaking, PvP can produce the most exhilarating edge-of-your-seat battles I've ever experienced. I've also had some duds, with teammates rage quitting, having verbal meltdowns, and blaming everyone else for them losing. The combat system carries PvP, and fighting other players really illustrates how skill-based it is, which is why when you defeat an enemy or win a tough match, it scratches an itch nothing else can. But everything that surrounds PvP can dampen that enjoyment. Like death by chocolate cake, it's better in moderation. That is why only 10% of my total playtime has been in PvP. The other competitive game mode is World vs. World, or WVW. Similar to PvP, you fight other players for objectives, but instead of the standard 5v5, it is a three-way war between hundreds of players. You siege opponent towers, take camps from under their nose, and try and claim the ultimate prize, Stone Mist Castle. Your team used to be determined by your world, which was analogous to your server, but with the introduction of mega servers in 2014 and world restructuring in 2024, your team is based on the guild you choose. This makes the name of World vs. World kinda redundant, but the impression it gives is not. Battles still feel like worlds colliding, chaotic, but with competent commanders, you can cut through that chaos and emerge victorious. Or you could be a roamer, disrupting your opponent's supply lines and taking camps far from the main battles. World vs. World has an identity unlike other game modes, which makes its players very dedicated. Now I will admit, I am not one of those. World vs. World is my least played game mode by a fair margin. Like many PvE players, I only come to this land of Zergs to get my gifts of battle. But to those who like it, they really like it. And you know what? I respect it. World vs. World has its own terminology, its own culture, and it is not an experience you can get anywhere else. So, for as much as I sigh when I have to grind for another gift of battle, I would never wish it gone, because Guild Wars 2 would not be the same without it. These three game modes cover all the gameplay Guild Wars 2 has to offer. There is more I could elaborate upon, but we'd be here all day, so I will move on to the next topic, expansions. Like any successful MMO, Guild Wars 2 has had many expansions over the years. These range from the big, landmark releases of yesteryear to the leaner, more frequent model of today. There's also the Living World, seasons of episodic updates that released between expansions, until also being replaced by the new expansion model. Now this doesn't sound like much, but above all, I think it was the Living World that kept me playing for all this time. That drip feeding of new Guild Wars 2 content prevented me from getting tired of the game. Every time I felt the previous episode was getting stale, the next episode would pick me right back up. Better yet, if you logged in during an episode's release window, you would get it for free. You didn't have to be some member or own the deluxe edition, just here you go, explore this new zone and story. This was some serious value too. A new season of Living World could rival expansions in how much they added and the quality of it. I'm not afraid to say that Living World produced some of the best gameplay, story, and events this game has ever had. If you watched my video on the highs and lows of Guild Wars 2, then you know how much I loved Living World Season 4. If you want to know my rankings of the expansions and releases of Guild Wars 2, check out that video. Despite it being almost a year old, my opinions have not changed much. The only change I would make now is to swap End of Dragons with Janthier Wilds. I think I've been too harsh on End of Dragons, and the last stretch of Janthier Wilds was disappointing. Serves me right for singing an expansion's praises before it finished, so they can take each other's place. While some expansions are better than others, I will say that every expansion is at minimum more positive than negative. It is not like other games where certain DLCs actively make the game worse. From a bird's eye view, the quality is surprisingly consistent. That is why I have not regretted buying any Guild Wars 2 expansion, and why I still buy them. I know what to expect, and I know I'll enjoy it. Which brings me to the least fun part of an MMORPG, cost and monetization. Now I mentioned multiple reasons why I started playing Guild Wars 2, and why I still do, but the reality of it is that it all started because of its cost. When I first learned about Guild Wars 2 in 2012, what intrigued me about it was its lack of a monthly subscription. You pay once, and the game is yours. For a kid with no income, that is very appealing. But still, I couldn't bring myself to buy the game. Like I said, I was broke. But later, I saw an ad saying that new players who pre-purchased Heart of Thorns got the base game for free. That was my sign to get it. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a deal. Things are a bit different now. With so many expansions released, not to mention Living World, the cost of it all can be a deterrent for potential new players. What I would suggest to those still on the fence is to take advantage of the free trial. This wasn't an option for me back then, but it is for you now. Should you decide to commit after some time in the game, you only need to buy the expansions one at a time when you're ready to start them. No need to worry about Visions of Eternity when you just want to follow the story into Heart of Thorns. The same idea for Living World. Buy what you want when you need it. That way, if you decide to leave or quit the game entirely, you don't regret your purchases. Still, all things considered, Guild Wars 2 is a remarkably affordable MMO. A poor man's World of Warcraft if PvP map chat is to be believed. If not for that affordability, then I would not have found a game I love, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who can say that. While I think Guild Wars 2 does have more customer-friendly monetization than some, it still has parts I dislike. Namely, the elephant in the room, the gem store. A cash shop is nothing new in MMOs, but it doesn't make its presence any more welcome. Despite some misconceptions, the gem store is not pay to win, but it is pay for style and convenience. Want a cool skin without the effort? Swipe that card and bam, you win Fashion Wars. Want more than one measly bank slot? Sorry, storage is a luxury for those with low impulse control. Gems can even be converted to gold, so every legendary weapon is just one bank statement away. Thankfully, converting gems works the other way too, making the gold earned in-game a source of cash shop currency. It doesn't make some of the prices less glaring, but at least there are options, which has allowed me to avoid the poor spending habits that these games often create. I think I spent $10 on gems back in, must have been 2017, when I got a material storage expander. But since then, everything I have from the gem store came from gold earned in-game. My final thoughts are ambivalent. The gem store is far from the worst monetization scheme that can be found in games, and you could argue that the only reason it is here is because of the no subscription fee, so they needed a consistent source of income to keep the game in the green. But let's be honest, it would still be here even with a monthly subscription. Is this monetization format the lesser of two evils? I'll let you be the judge of that. Should you play Guild Wars 2 for 4,000 hours? That is the question I opened this video with. After talking about the game and my experience with it throughout this video, I have to say my direct answer is a rather boring, sure, if you have the time. Like I said, I don't expect anyone to play as much as I do. I can't deny that 4,000 hours is excessive, but what this question more importantly reveals is the game's quality. A game that can have players play for that long and not get bored must be doing something right. Guild Wars 2 is a constant in my life, a world that is familiar, and a game that feels like home. I have my gripes, frustrations from a veteran player that get more noticeable the longer you play, but Guild Wars 2 remains a source of relaxation and a lot of fun. Games like that are hard to come by, which is why I'm still here, still vibing, still playing. If that sounds good to you, then by all means play Guild Wars 2. It's a game worth trying at least once. Thank you everyone for watching this video on my Guild Wars 2 perspective. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, and if you've played Guild Wars 2 before, what your favorite moment in the game was. My name is Oldengold, subscribe if you want, and I will see you in the next video.